Hello and welcome to Lesson 11 of Learning HTML and CSS. Today we're going to talk about creating tables in your HTML documents. First I want to give you an introduction to tables and what they are. As you know, a table consists of one or more rows or columns, and I have an example of what a table is. Here is the rows, and these are the columns. And a table is defined by defining the rows. And within each row, a table contains two different kinds of cells. We have header cells that identify what's in the columns and rows of tables, and data cells, which contains the actual data of the table. For example, we have three header cells right here, and then we have our data cells in the next four rows. And then we have the ending, this is actually a header cell and the ending data cell. To create a table, you're going to start with the table element, and then in the table element you will then start with your table rows. This will add the rows, and you can define whether it's a header cell or a data cell by using TH for table header and TD for table data. By default, the content of the table header cell is going to be bold-faced and centered, and data is always left aligned. The width is going to be determined on how much data you've put in that cell. The bigger the cell, the more amount of data, the more cell space it's going to have. And I'll give you an example of what that looks like. This is starting your table row, your table header, and we want to put it to the left, so it's going to be on the left. And then we have table data. That's going to be your next row. These are going to define each row, and then we're going to end each one with your slash. Next, we're going to talk about how to use CSS to format a table, because by default, a table is not going to have the borders that you normally see in a table. And the common properties are going to be border, which puts border around. Collapse is going to make it to where you only see one border around it, because if you don't collapse it, each cell is going to have its own border and it's going to be double. Border spacing is going to let you have your space between the cells. Padding is going to go to the outer edge, and align, you're going to align it left, center, or right. And vertical is going to be the up or down. And I'll show you an example. Here's an example of your CSS. We're going to have a 1 pixel border, collapsible. Our left table header and table data is going to be aligned to the left, and the rest of it will be aligned right. And then our total at the bottom will be in bold. And I'm going to show you an example on our HTML document. Here's our coding for our tables, and you'll see where I've defined the table row, table headers, and then we have our table data going down, and then we have our total. And then here's our CSS code. Right now I'm going to show you it without the CSS to see what that looks like. Here's our code that did not link the CSS sheet. You'll see there's no borders around it, and it's just aligned basically and put it. Now the next I'm going to show you with it linked. Okay, now I've linked the style sheet with it, and this is what it looks like. You'll see we're left aligned. You'll see it's bolded. You'll see that the borders have been added, and you'll see what the spacing is. And that's it for this lesson.